Alright, what's going on, everybody? So, a few weeks ago, when I saw Avengers Endgame, after I watched that, I kind of wanted to do a video ranking the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but I didn't have time to do it, and at first I actually wasn't going to do it in this format, but seeing how I did the anime ranking video that I just did the other day, I think that this would be a better way of going about doing it, because at first I was going to just do it where like I was kind of like listing it off like 1 through 22, because there's like 22 movies. And so today I just want to rank the MCU movies. And I think this is going to be real quick. This ain't going to be a long video. This shouldn't be a long video, or it shouldn't be as long as the anime ranking video. Y'all can check that out. I'll probably leave a link in the description for that. But so let's go ahead. Let's get started. I'm gonna go from the bottom and work my way up. So the first movie that I'm going to put up here at the, I guess you can say the E rank or the trash rank. The movies that are at the bottom, they're basically hot garbage. I would say the first movie is gotta be Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, man, this movie, Brie Larson is unlikable as Captain Marvel. It's horribly written. It's written to appeal to feminists and SJWs. It doesn't truly become a Captain Marvel movie. Like, she doesn't truly become Captain Marvel until the last 10 or 12 minutes of the movie. It was just a forgettable movie. It felt like a stopgap movie. And so that's why Captain Marvel is going to be at the bottom. And I think the other movie that might have to be at the bottom, even though I don't think it's as bad. Let me be clear about this. It's definitely not as bad as it's not as bad as Captain Marvel. And the movie I'm talking about is Iron Man 2. I think some of y'all probably saw this coming. Iron Man 2, it was a very disappointing movie, given the fact that the first Iron Man caught me off guard. I think it probably caught a lot of people off guard, because I was going in Iron Man thinking that movie was gonna be trash. And I'll talk a little bit more about my sort of story, kind of getting into how I got into Iron Man unexpectedly. But yeah, Iron Man 2, it was very disappointing as a sequel to a very strong movie with Robert Downey Jr. And it just felt like a setup movie for the Avengers, to be honest. And like Whiplash, I remember Whiplash was the villain. Very disappointing. I think the guy who played Whiplash, I think his name was like Mickey Rourke or something like that. But he sucked in that movie. I mean, the movie was very forgettable. Like I said, it was just a stopgap movie. And the only thing that I'm kind of struggling with now, let me see if I can find Iron Man 2 up here. There's a lot of movies. The only thing I'm kind of struggling with now is whether or not, because I think this is Iron Man 2 right here, because where's Iron Man 3? Okay, yeah, so this is Iron Man 2. So the only thing I'm struggling with, whether or not I should put it at the trash rank or I should put it at D, because I kind of feel like putting it at the same level as Captain Marvel is kind of disingenuous, because it's like at best it's like a 6 out of 10. And I mean, I guess I can put it, because I don't want to put it above. I might change this later, but I'm gonna put it at the trash rank. I'm gonna put it at the same rank as Captain Marvel, even though I think even Iron Man 2 is better than Captain Marvel. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on from that. So the next movie is gonna be The Incredible Hulk. Now, I was somebody like growing up, that first Hulk movie, the first Incredible Hulk movie with I think the guy's name is Eric Bana or something like that. But that first Incredible Hulk movie, I hated it. I probably maybe like it. It could have been because I saw the movie so much as a kid. And this Incredible Hulk movie, the one that is in the MCU, I was actually surprised about how good that movie was. It's not the greatest movie in the world. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. But it was the only. It was like the only MCU movie, or one of the only MCU movies. I think it was the only MCU movie that I didn't see in theaters. Because I don't even think I was aware of this movie actually coming out in theaters. Like I said, I hated the first Hulk movie that came out in 2003. I wasn't a big fan of the Hulk growing up because like I hated the fact that like the military was, well, at least maybe that was just in the first Hulk movie, but I hated the fact that like the military was after the Hulk the whole time. Like y'all know this man is trying to, well, I don't know. For me, I had mixed feelings about the Hulk growing up. And this was the first movie. I don't even think some people were aware of this at the time, but the Incredible Hulk, I believe the Incredible Hulk was actually the first movie to actually kind of like plant the seeds for the Avengers crossover. So that's why it's very it's kind of a very significant movie. So with that being said, it's definitely not at the trash rank. It's a decent movie, but in comparison to all the other movies in the MCU, I would say that it's probably at the D rank, but I'm not saying that it's a terrible movie. It's not terrible. It's like average, really. So it could be at C rank, but when you compare it to all the other MCU movies, I would have to say it's not the strongest one. But I'm not saying, like I said, I just want to be clear, it's not a bad movie. It's not terrible. Like I could put it at the C rank, but when you compare it to all the other movies in the MCU, it's kind of like it would be kind of disingenuous to put this movie any higher. So that's what I'm gonna do. So the next movie is Thor. Now, with the movie Thor, I know a lot of people weren't the biggest fans of Thor before Thor Ragnarok. Now everybody else tried to jump on the bandwagon, the Thor bandwagon later on, but I was a fan from that first movie. Seeing that trailer, I really wanted to see this movie, and I wanted to see this movie, and I wanted this movie to be like a big. Because here's the thing: the trailers made it seem like the movie was gonna be this big epic. The movie spent way too much time, and I know they probably had to do this, but the movie spent way too much time on Earth. When we got to see Asgard, like I wanted to see more of Asgard. I love the world of Asgard and the other realms and the other worlds that they were like setting up, like the nine, what they call them, the nine realms. I like all that. But it was very disappointing considering, like I said, the trailers made it seem like it was gonna be this big epic. So I was a bit disappointed in the first Thor movie, and like I said, it's not a movie that I would say is trash. Like like I said, I know a lot of people had like mixed feelings about it. Like more than likely, some people just thought it was okay, but in comparison, like it's one of those movies just like the Incredible Hulk. Like it's not a terrible movie, but in comparison to all of the other movies that Marvel has put out, I mean, I gotta put it at a bottom tier. So that's where that's gonna go. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. Captain America, the first Avenger. I know a lot of people did not see this movie. It's very underrated. The only thing that I did not like about the Captain America movie was Red Skull didn't really do anything. Like Red Skull, they kind of underused. Like they didn't really use Red Skull that much in the MCU. Maybe it was because the actor, and I could be getting this wrong. The name of the actor that plays Red Skull, is it Hugo Weaving or something like that? Like I think there might have been a dispute or something with. Like there might have been some bad blood between him and Marvel, maybe back then or something, or maybe They just didn't give him a bigger role. They just necessarily didn't want to give him a bigger role in the MCU. Cause Red Skull, like, I'm not gonna pretend to be somebody who really knows the comics like that, but I thought like people like Red Skull and Baron Zemo, like those are like the biggest Captain Marvel. I mean, not Captain Marvel, Captain America villains. So I was kind of disappointed, but like the way that movie is shot, the action scenes, just the story of Steve Rogers and Chris Evans acting, because that was something that really probably surprised a lot of people. Because keep in mind, before Captain America, Chris Evans, he was Human Torch. So that movie, like I said, that movie was decent, and so that's why I would put it at the C rank. And let me see if I can. Where is the first Captain America movie? Is it up here? Hold on. I don't think the I don't think the first Captain America movie's up here. It's not up here. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm about to say. Okay, so the first Captain America movie, like I said, pretty decent, and I think it's way better than Thor and Hulk and Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel. It's better than those movies. So after Captain America, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Ant-Man and the Wasp was way better than the first Ant-Man. And I'll say this. So Ant-Man and the Wasp had a better villain than the first movie. Cause the first Ant-Man movie, man, it was really funny. Cause I thought the first Ant-Man movie was funnier than the second one. And I don't want to say necessarily that that Ant-Man and the Wasp was just kind of going through the motions, but it wasn't as good as, well, I thought it was better than the first one in certain aspects, but as far as having that Marvel humor that like really makes you enjoy a movie and gets you to really enjoy the movie and everything, I didn't think it was as funny. Like I said, I didn't think it was as funny as the first movie, but I would say that it was better than the first one in, like I said, in many aspects. So I would put Ant-Man and the Wasp, if I can. Okay, here it is. I would put that at C rank. And the first Ant-Man movie, well, actually, no, I said that incorrectly. I thought the second Ant-Man movie was actually weaker than the first one. Because I think I might have mixed my words up. So my mistake. The first Ant-Man movie was really funny. I thought the first Ant-Man movie, like when the first Ant-Man movie came out, y'all gotta remember it came out after the first Avengers movie, I believe. Or I think after Iron Man 3, I think. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up. But either way, it felt like a stopgap movie. Because I remember it was after either the first or second Avengers movie was when the first Ant-Man came out. And it was a really good stopgap movie, but it's like the main villain, it has that same issue where like in the first Iron Man, for instance, like Iron Man, who's Iron Man fighting? A evil version, just a different version of like the Iron Man suit. And so like the Ant-Man's villain in the first Ant-Man movie was I think the name of the villain, the comic book name was Yellow Jacket or something like that. It's just another person in like a Ant-Man suit that's kind of similar to like Ant-Man's suit. It kind of has like the same sort of skill set. So the villain wasn't the greatest thing in the world in the first Ant-Man movie. Like I said before. So that was kind of like the weakest aspect of the Ant-Man movie. The only other thing that I guess some people might have not liked was, they made Hank Pym older, and they went with like Scott Lang as the new Ant-Man. And like for me, my introduction to Ant-Man was on the Avengers cartoon. So I was kind of used to Hank Pym being Ant-Man. So I was used to Hank Pym being Ant-Man. But yeah, Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, I would put at C rank. I mean, they're enjoyable movies. They're not terrible, but they're good. Um, let's see. So we got Thor: The Dark World, and to this day, I feel like this movie's underrated. People, I don't know how people be complaining over this movie. The movie was funny, had a lot of action. Loki and Thor, that dynamic that they have in that movie. The movie was just great, and I love seeing more Asgard. I love seeing more of the other world. We don't really spend that much time on Earth in this movie, and it fixed everything. It was what the first Thor movie should have been in terms of scale, and I would say Thor: The Dark World. So I would say in comparison to the other movies, I'll put it at C rank, even though I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed it. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is one of those movies, man. People came out. There were some people that came out of that movie just like, okay, this was like visually, that movie is stunning what they were doing with it, because they were purposely trying to, mess with your mind, and I feel like a lot of people came out of that movie just like, okay, what did I watch? I mean, that was entertaining, but like, what did I just watch? Not to say that it was kind of confusing on like a Inception level or something, but like, some people just came out of the movie just like, yeah, that was kind of that was crazy. Doctor Strange was pretty good. I don't know if I would necessarily put it at the B tier, cause there was a bit of Iron Man that you can kind of, make the comparison with Doctor Strange. It's not the weakest Marvel movie, and maybe I'll put this at B tier. I could change it later. It's either B or C tier. Now this next one, Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is a very divisive movie. Like, all of a sudden, like, after the movie came out, like, I want to say 6 months, 8 months, maybe even a year later, people just suddenly, it feels like people have suddenly turned on Spider-Man: Homecoming. Because, like, when I first saw the movie, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't like the fact that, Spider-Man had a high-tech suit. And I'm somebody that I want Peter Parker, when I see Peter Parker and, Spider-Man, I want to see him on his own. That was one of the things that I hate about a lot of the recent Spider-Man animated cartoons. I hated that. In like the most recent ones. They had Spider-Man going around with like Shield, and like he wants to be just like Iron Man. He wants to be an Avenger, when that's like not the core of what Spider-Man is. I mean, I get the fact that that Spider-Man has teamed up with the Avengers and even become an Avenger in the comic books, but I like Spider-Man doing his own thing. But I did like the whole surrogate father aspect, that sort of dynamic that Peter Parker had with Tony Stark. Like, Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr., they're just great. They play off of each other. Michael Keaton's Vulture, he's actually a really good, relatable villain. He's actually one of the best villains that the MCU has. The diversity changes probably kind of pissed a lot of people off. Now they're saying that MJ is Michelle, and they weren't really trying to commit to that in the first movie. I don't know what made them change. I did not like the changes to Flash Thompson. I mean, he's still a bully in a way, but he's an intellectual bully. He's a different kind of bully, and I'm used to him being the jock. And like, I know if you're a fan of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and I'm definitely the biggest fan of the Sam Raimi, Toby Maguire Spider-Man. Like the Toby Maguire Spider-Man, I will always like that. That has a special place for me. But I think that if you're a fan of like the older traditional Spider-Man, where like Spider-Man is an adult, because like my parents did not like this movie. My parents didn't like this movie at all. Like they wanted Spider-Man to be more serious, but like I had to keep telling them, well, like Spider-Man's a kid in this movie. Like he's a teenager, so of course he's gonna act a certain way. But like I said, this movie, people have kind of turned on it in a way. It wasn't a bad movie. If I had to rank it, I'd put it at the B rank. It's not terrible. There's certain things that I wouldn't have done, like with Spider-Man having like his suit. I think his suit was like my main thing. I don't like his suit being more like technology based, but like hopefully they'll change that in the next movie. So, the next movie I'm gonna put up here. Thor the Dark World. I mean, no, not Thor the Dark World. Thor Ragnarok. So this movie was the movie, like I said earlier, this is the movie that got a lot of people in the door. Before this movie, Thor was just like as a character, it was mostly females. Like I don't say it was mostly females, but like it was females going to that movie because they love Chris Hemsworth, you know. Thor Ragnarok was biting a lot off of like it seemed like they were biting a lot off of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe. It was a very funny movie, very different from the other movies. Now they made Thor. Thor is a comic relief character all of a sudden. And like I said, it felt like they were kind of biting a lot off of the Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of like the tone and just how kind of goofy it was. I enjoyed the movie though. I thought it was pretty good, and I'd put it at the B rank. So we got Thor Ragnarok at the B rank, and I think the next movie is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy 2. This movie's underrated. I know that there's a lot of people that hated this movie, and I think the only criticisms that I can have about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is, yeah, I get that they were kind of trying to double down on what made the first one work a little bit too much. Like they weren't as subtle when it comes to like certain things. They definitely were trying to play into as far as like the marketing aspect of this movie for like merchandising and everything. You know, they like with Baby Groot and everything. And the humor, I thought it was funny. It probably wasn't as funny to certain people out there. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I would say it would almost make my top 10 of Marvel movies. Like if I had to number it and everything, it would probably be at like number 11. So it's up there for me personally. It's between a B or an A rank, and I think I'll probably put it down here. All right, so the next one. So I'm thinking, cause I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it could be at A rank, maybe I'll switch it. I don't know. For right now, I'm gonna keep it at B. So the next movie is going to be Age of Ultron, Avengers 2, or Avengers Age of Ultron. This is another one of those movies where people, I don't think, like, there's people out there that somehow think that the sequel to Avengers, to the first Avengers, was a terrible movie. When it wasn't. It was funny. It had the action and stuff. And there were some people that didn't really like the way that they finished off Ultron. I love the way they finished this off. Instead of having Ultron, like the last version of Ultron, be defeated in this grand way. The way that Vision, takes him out, it was funny, and also at the same time, it was a quieter scene. It was way different than what you would expect. And the only thing that I could say about this movie that I did not like was the way that they rushed through. They kind of rushed to get to Ultron. It seemed like that turn from, like, as soon as Tony Stark and Bruce Banner made Ultron, like, he snapped so quickly. Like, he turned evil so quickly. You get what I'm saying? Like, they didn't give him much time to really kind of develop into a villain, into, like, being this sinister threat. I feel like that was kind of the weakest part of the movie. I mean, they did do this whole thing where, like, they did a bait and switch when it came to Quicksilver, because they made it seem like Hawkeye was gonna die, but that's not something that I would, like, dock off points for the movie. I wouldn't say that made it terrible. I mean, honestly, I thought that it was, because I was going into this movie really thinking that, okay, this can't top the original Avengers, but it was just as good. I mean, for me, I thought it was pretty good. I might put this at the B rank later. I might switch it around, but for right now, I'll put it at the A rank, because actually, it's within one of my top 10. It's within the top 10 of my favorite Marvel movies. And that movie also has the infamous, well, I wouldn't say infamous, but it has that scene where everybody's trying to lift the hammer, Thor's hammer. Everybody's trying to lift it. That scene was really, really funny. And we actually saw the payoff to that this year. And like I said, I have nothing but positive things to really say about that movie. I wasn't one of those people that really hated that. Black Panther. So Black Panther's gonna be the next movie. And Black Panther's definitely up there. As a black man, I gotta, it's like I'm obligated. Like, it seemed like, it's funny because, I watched South Park. For like the first time in years. I want to say like not a few months ago, maybe it was like a year ago, whatever. And they were joking about Cartman was acting like, Black Panther was overrated. And of course, if you're not a fan of South Park, Cartman is a racist, basically. But this movie, like, looking back on it, because normally when I watch a Marvel movie, like, after I watch it, maybe like when the next Marvel movie comes out or whatever, or maybe when I'm bored, I'll turn on another Marvel movie. But it's one of those movies where I have not watched it again. Not to say that it was a bad movie, because it definitely wasn't bad. But just experiencing that movie for the first time in theaters and seeing all the black people out there in their African garb and their dashikis and everything. Everybody came out to see this movie, so the cultural aspect of it, the cultural impact, I should say. But just talking about the movie itself, the villain, Killmonger. So when Michael B. Jordan was cast as the villain, I was like, I don't know about that, because, I like Michael B. Jordan. I like he's very charismatic. He's like a Will Smith, where, like, he's, like, very charismatic. You really whatever character he's playing, you're probably going to like that character. But his villain is one of the best villains in the MCU. And there was actually a really good message. Especially, like, if you're a black person, you're definitely gonna get a lot out of this movie. But even if you're not black, you're gonna get a lot out of this movie. I still think you're gonna get a lot out of this movie. I think the only things that I would I would say that, like, was bad about this movie, and as far as where I'm gonna rank it, because like I said, this is also within the top 10. For me, I might put it at the S rank, but for right now, I'm gonna leave it at the A rank. Like I said, I might have to switch some of these around, but the only thing I really hated about that movie, so I think, and like I said before, I'm not somebody that really knows the comics like that. You know, I grew up watching Marvel cartoons and stuff, so that's how I know a lot about the characters and stuff. But I would think that, and I'm probably gonna get this guy's name wrong, but Ulysses Claw. I would think that Claw would be Black Panther's like his Joker. You know, I would think that Claw is a bigger Black Panther, a bigger Black Panther villain. So I did not like the fact that they killed Claw off in that movie. And you know, this is a superhero movie, so they could bring him back. They could find a way to bring him back. And I like what's the guy's name that plays Claw? I believe it's like Andy Serkis, I believe. I like him. I like him. He's a very good actor. If y'all don't know, he's most known for doing like what do you call that? Like mocap or motion capture. I like Ulysses Claw. The world of Wakanda. Well, not the world, but the place of Wakanda, the location. You really, really like that area, that place in the movie. You wanted to see more of it, but if you're a really observant person, we don't even get to see a lot of Wakanda in that movie. I mean, we get to see, like, they give you the wide shots and everything, but they really don't take you to a lot of different places. The fighting in that movie, it's really good. The story is really good. So yeah, so yeah, that's got to stay at the A rank. I don't think it's the greatest Marvel movie, but it's definitely up there. So Iron Man 3. This is one of those movies, man. Marvel done pissed a lot of y'all off of what they did with the Mandarin, but I loved it. This movie almost gave me a freaking, like, I almost got sick off this movie. In the best way possible. Like, I remember laughing so hard. I believe this movie actually came out after the first Avengers movie, but I was laughing so hard in this movie. I started coughing and wheezing and crap. Like, this movie was funny, had the action. Robert Downey Jr., I think this is one of my favorite movies from him. Tony Stark in this movie going through PTSD. The Mandarin was one of the characters that I know a lot of y'all don't like what they did with them, with the whole bait and switches. Like, this guy playing, this actor portraying this character that's not supposed to be real, and then Marvel, you know, later on they did a short, I believe it was called All Hail the King or something like that. And then they basically said that, oh no, there is a Mandarin out there. But I like that. I like that. It still works. It still works. And I believe they were going to make the Mandarin a female. And I never really, to be fair, I never really saw the appeal of the Mandarin. And again, this is coming from somebody that doesn't read the comics. My only what do you call it? My only exposure to Mandarin is from like the cartoons. I always thought he was kind of silly, but I like what they did with Tony Stark's character in this movie. I like what they did with the Mandarin in this movie, and I like the idea that there is still a Mandarin out there. There is a real Mandarin out there, and they could play with that. I believe they said that they're going to actually have that villain in a future Marvel movie. And I like the idea that they left that door open, that there is a Mandarin out there, and they could make it a plot point in the next movie, just be like, the new Mandarin killed. Like I have a feeling, the new Mandarin, well, not the new Mandarin, but the real Mandarin is probably gonna kill the guys from the Iron Man 3 movie. He's probably pissed off because they're using his name. Like they could do something with that. So Iron Man 3 is one of my favorite. It's really one of my favorite. One of my favorite MCU movies. I would put it at S tier, almost. I'll put it at A tier for right now, but that's one of my favorites. So we got Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this is kind of self-explanatory. This movie, the music in this movie was a big part of this movie. This movie proves that you don't need to do a separate movie. Like you could do a team up movie. Well, not a team up movie, but you can do a team movie and not have to have separate films for it to work. In one movie, they were able to do so much with this. They were able to really establish these characters as a family, and it's a really deep story to it, and it's one of those movies that I'll say this, and I think I've said this before on my channel when I did like the review for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think this is I really think this is better than Star Wars to me as far as like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that this is the next generation of Star Wars to me. Like, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this movie. I've watched it multiple times. It's a truly great movie, and I put it at S rank, definitely. So the next movie is gonna be the Avengers. Like they will never be able to recapture. I don't think they'll ever be able to recapture just the feeling of having all these characters on screen. Well, then again, let me not say that, because they kind of did with the Avengers, with the last Avengers movie, Endgame. They kind of did sort of recapture that feeling of, oh my God, there's all these superheroes on screen, but just seeing it for the first time. This movie, the only thing I didn't like about this movie, because I didn't really like the whole mind control aspect of it, I guess. But it was a solid movie even at the time. I know some people have kind of soured on Joss Whedon, and actually I would put this at A tier maybe, because in comparison, well, I might have to move it. I might have to move it back up to the S tier. We'll have to see. But it was a very good movie, very well made movie. Very like Joss Whedon. He knows how to do a comic book movie. It was a very good movie. Iron Man. So the first Iron Man. So I can now tell this story. First Iron Man movie. So when I was going to see the first Iron Man movie, I was actually supposed to be seeing Indiana Jones, and I had this plan. I'm gonna watch the Iron Man movie. I'm gonna watch part of it, and then when it comes time for Indiana Jones, like the next showing of Indiana Jones, I'm just slip out of here, because we did get another. I believe we did get another ticket at the time, but I'm just slip out of here, and I'm gonna watch that Indiana Jones. And if y'all don't remember, there was that Indiana Jones movie. I think they did like aliens or something in it. Like I believe this was the movie where Shia LaBeouf. I can never say this guy's name, but Shia LaBeouf was in that movie, and I heard that movie was terrible. I was one of those people that went into the first Iron Man, and really, I went to the first Iron Man expecting it to be trash. I was like, man, this gonna be stupid. This man in this iron suit. Like not even halfway through the movie, like my mother taps me and stuff. She's like, yo, you can go to see Indiana Jones. You can go. You can go into that movie. I was like, nah, I want to see the rest of this. This was like it was. It's a very surprise. It surprised me. It's a very good movie, and even to this day, I would say it's one of the best in the MCU. Cause you can go back and rewatch it, and I feel like it still holds up. It still holds up. I mean, I would put it up there. It's either A or S rank. So the next one, Captain America: Civil War. This movie, the internet, the way the people reacted to this movie, I was like, did y'all not understand this movie? The Avengers lost, man. They lost. There were people talking about, oh, this movie boring. It was slow. It's like, yeah, they gotta do, because there was points in this movie where, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, they're up there arguing. They're arguing points. Like, these characters are arguing different points, different standpoints with this what they call it, the Soviet Accords or whatever. Like, this movie was really good. I liked even the villain in this movie. People didn't like the villain in this movie. I liked every single bit. Just going back to this movie, I think all the Captain America movies are really, really good. And Joe and Anthony Russo, man, they are some of the best directors in Hollywood at this point. I think it's safe to say that they are, especially in terms of action, because we got to see we got a bit of a taste of what we were going to be getting in the future from them with this movie. They introduced Spider-Man in this movie, and I know that was another selling point of this movie. But man, seeing these characters fight each other, and having these characters have to basically choose sides, pick sides and stuff. And this movie, I feel like it's one of those movies in the MCU that's very overrated. I mean, not overrated, underrated. It's very underrated. I think, like, if you weren't a fan of Civil War, you gotta go back and rewatch it. I urge you, because I thought it was pretty good. So where I would put it. So Civil War for me, it is up there. It would be at like number 4 for me. So for me, it's up there. It's S tier, man. It's S tier. And same thing with the rest of these movies here. So the last movies we got are Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers, Endgame, and Avengers Infinity War. And y'all already know where that's gonna go. All 3 of these movies are S rank movies. These are like god tier movies. Captain America, Winter Soldier, boy, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. Oh my god, I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. This was the movie that I think got a lot of people to love Captain America. Cause like I said, I feel like a lot of people didn't see the first Captain America movie. So I think this second movie caught a lot of them off guard. And there were so many good action scenes in that movie. And that scene where Captain America's in that elevator, that's why in Endgame, well, I don't want to spoil anything just in case, because I know Endgame is still in theaters. I know probably a lot of y'all have already seen it, but I don't want to spoil what's going to happen in that movie. But in Endgame, and I can talk about Endgame a little bit too, because Endgame, like I said, Endgame and Infinity War. I guess this goes like this common knowledge. Thanos is one of the best villains. Is the best villain in the MCU. And man, there's a lot I can say about Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. I'm probably gonna leave the links in the description to my reviews, to any reviews I've done on the MCU movies, so y'all can kind of get my thoughts on those movies if y'all want to get that. But these two movies, man, we will never. And I feel like a lot of people are gonna jump ship. Now that we know what Marvel is planning in the future, I think a lot of people are jumping ship now. But it's like if they ended it off here with Endgame, everybody would be satisfied. They did exactly what DC wanted to do with Justice League. When it came to Avengers Endgame, their final battle. And I feel like their final battle, they somehow outdid Infinity War. It was more of a war than what Infinity War was when you really think about it. Because Infinity War, it was a battle on two fronts. You know, you had a battle on Earth and you had a battle, out there in the galaxy, in space. And it was almost two different movies. And somehow Joe and Anthony Russo, they were able to make that work in Infinity War. And the movies, despite Endgame being so long, it wasn't one of those. It wasn't a slow. And a lot of people say that first half was slow. It wasn't slow at all. They had to set things up. I mean, it was paced really well. It was really funny. It was obviously, the presentation, the production of the movie. It was hilarious. I mean, these movies were perfect. So that's pretty much my list. And I don't think some of y'all might disagree with some of this stuff. We'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and let me know what you guys think about my list. And feel free, like I said, with the anime tier list video I did. You can put your list in the comment section below, and I'll read it, and we can discuss it. We can discuss these movies and stuff. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. This has been Fear No Hate. I'm out here. Peace.